He was so relieved.
At Fenway or
You wouldn't have known the difference.
You wouldn't know the difference. I mean, it's got to be the best pitched college baseball game ever.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, I could, and that's not hyperbole.
No, I mean, old Tommy Walter, as he said last night, he looked down in the 7th inning and saw that Skeens hadn't walked anybody, and he was like,
"Who gave up 2 hits?"
He was like, "This is amazing."
No errors, no hits. Dude, I looked up and it was in the 7th inning. And I was like, "Oh no, this game's going by too fast."
It was in the 7th inning at 7:30.
It did go really quick. I was excited about that.
When you get to like a major league game
Right.
with 2 aces, I mean, you like look up and you're like, "Damn, we're in the 8th inning."
Right.
Says in the stretch, boys.
Do you think Skeens and Lauder are the best pitchers the College World Series has ever seen?
I mean,
I
think Rance said it yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he said, I mean, like he was like, "This is." I don't think people understand. This is going to be the best pitched game, or at least the star power on the mound.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Johnson said you'll look up in a couple of years, and there'll be 4 pitchers that pitched last night in the
All-Star game.
Not in the big leagues, in the All-Star game. I mean, Thatcher Hurd's performance last night. I mean, the adversity that this pitching staff has faced all season long, really the ridicule. I mean, look, guilty. You know, I mean, there was a point in the season where I was like, there's no way.
You checked in and checked out.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like, I am a proud bandwagon fan member. And I mean, a true front runner. But there were definitely points in the season where you were like, you can't win with this in the postseason. Like, I mean, this is going to be, well, you get into a situation like
last night.
Right now.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're like, there's no way they're going to be able to get themselves out of it because they just don't have the confidence in the arms, right? I mean, now I'm looking at a 3-game series where you've used up Skeens and, I mean, Hurd for a lot of what you could expect from him this weekend, and you're like, man, tee this thing up. I mean,
you feel fine with that's what we were saying earlier, is it's almost the adversity that LSU had to go through to be able to get to this spot gave you more confidence in a Nate Ackenhausen, a Riley Cooper, a Griffin Herring, who earlier in the year you felt like if you were first of all even able to get to Omaha, right? If you got to the losers bracket, you're like, oh, they don't have the arms, and instead LSU fights through the losers bracket and gains more confidence going into a championship game against Florida.
Look, man, and I definitely underestimated Wake Forest and Louder.
I was with you.
Oh, I know.
I mean, I felt like an asshole. I was like, these cats can play, man. When the news broke like 10 minutes before the game that Kurtz wasn't playing, you were like, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, because that can kind of play like a mental gymnastics, on you, where you're like,
oh, they don't have their guy.
Yeah. Like their dude's out.
Do you think that he hurt himself at the dugout with his little temper tantrum? And they just said ribs?
Well, his coach said he heard it in the super and that he's been dealing with it all week.
I would cover for him too.
I don't know if ribs can like progressively get worse. I'd imagine like it hurts or it doesn't. You know what I mean? It either got hurt last weekend or it didn't.
Coach, if you're going into a winner-take-all championship series, do you not just get a shot? I mean, you can make that thing go away for 2 hours.
I mean, that's a Colt McCoy, like, national championship, like...
I can't feel my arm.
I'm not going back in. You're like, what?
How?
What do you mean you're not going back in?
You didn't even start.
I mean...
And then they kept putting the cameras on them.
Right.
Practice swinging. And, like, just moving around in the dugout.
Very J.J. Wattish.
You
know what I mean?
I'm going to get through it.
He was crying.
Hey, bro, the camera's on you.
Crying like J.J. Watt.
The Trey Morgan plays the best defensive play I've ever seen in baseball. I mean, when I saw it, I thought Derek Jeter. Like, really, I thought Derek Jeter, Oakland A's. What was that? Was that the ALCS? I forget. NLCS?
Yes, the ALCS.
Yeah. Was it?
The Oakland Athletics, Derek Jeter
flips it
to Jorge Posada.
I mean, the athleticism and just the wherewithal to know how to make that play. And look, Milazzo deserves a lot of credit on the tag. I mean, to make it in a bang-bang scenario like that. And for that game to come down to a slide that, has Trey Morgan a part of the play. Right. I mean, those are the 2 biggest plays of maybe the tournament.
Yeah.
The play on him Monday night at the plate in that slide, and then the play he made last night to save that run. I mean, that was I hate to speak like that because I mean in this business you get burned so many times by saying that's the best I've ever seen, and then tonight something happens that is ultimately better. But
in the moment,
that was.
And what it did for
the
game.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I
because
mean, he came off of there, and he's in his chest, and Skeens is, like, staring at him, kind of like,
what the
maybe
fuck?
I'm not the baddest dude out here. You know, like, I mean, they're playing with an air and a confidence to them. And, like, as they make those plays, as Tommy Tanks hits a walk-off home run, you know what I mean? Like, even Cobble was like, tonight had to feel great. Like, by the way you were struggling, he was like, I didn't think I was struggling.
Am I struggling?
Like, Jay Johnson's like, you weren't.
Yeah.
You know, like, from the side. I mean, it's like they all have this just built-in confidence and belief where it's like.
And they have the same thing in each other. Like, they look at the guy next to them, and they're like, I trust him with my life. And maybe you shouldn't.
So funny.
It is amazing, man. I mean, it's amazing to see kind of the shift in the mentality, or not necessarily the shift in the mentality of the mental game playing as much as it has. I mean, you could see it in the press conference 2 nights ago. I'm telling you. I mean, I think I maybe put a little bit too much stock into it because Wake Forest really came out yesterday and, I mean, went pitch for pitch with LSU. I mean, like I said, I mean, for as much as Thatcher Hurd and Paul Skeens will be remembered in the lore of LSU baseball for last night's performance, I mean, Wake Forest what Wake Forest did was just as impressive. Yeah. You know, I mean, that was, listening to Jay Johnson and my little history and knowledge of college baseball, that's the best pitched game I can remember. I guess the only one I've seen like that would be like Jonathan Gray, Aaron Nola.
That was, I think Hunt Palmer said the same thing. He's like, but this was 5X that.
It was.
It just felt, not in terms of how good the game was, but the stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you could see it, like, this is 2 big league pitchers. It was a no doubt version of Major League Baseball.
Right.
Like, the lineups that they both faced, like, the teams felt better than they did in, what was that, 2013 with Nola?
Yeah. No,
So,
I think it was actually earlier than that. Might have been 13.
But I don't think this is hyperbole to say that Wake Forest, like, those are the 2 best teams in the country you just saw play last night.
I think so. You know, I mean, I was thinking that. I mean, that's a 3-game series that came down to
one swing.
I mean, like,
one swing both times.
What's the final in that game?
2-0.
What was the final on Monday night?
3-2.
3-2 last night. 2-0. I mean, you know, ultimately on one swing.
And
you know, Dylan Cruz is the game-winning run. I mean, and I'd imagine that Tom Walters' offseason is going to be excruciatingly long because he's like talking out loud about a couple of decisions. Like, he thought about intentionally walking Beloso 2 nights ago. That's the offensive play of that game, his home run, 2 nights ago. And then last night, I mean, he walked Tommy White, the at bat before. He decides to go to his reliever after the leadoff man gets on, which he explained in the postgame press conference, saying that he's kind of like a big component of giving a guy the ball after the first runner gets on. It's like, well, why didn't you just start the guy that inning?
Right.
You know, like now you've kind of given it to him in a corner, right? And he's like, I'm a big believer of not doing that. He kind of like second guessed himself last night, right? And then like the Beloso decision, right, where he's like, I was standing on the top step and I was really about to say intentionally walk the guy.
I didn't do it.
I stood down, and a pitch later, we're beat.
Why would he say all of that out loud?
Job security.
I mean, I did think about it, but that's the difference, right? Where Jay Johnson feels like he pushes all the right buttons, whether some of the decision making was questionable or not. Like, there was a moment in the second game where he brought in, like, what he's done when you see Blake Money throw one pitch or Gavin Guidry throw one pitch. Right. It's like, all right, no, get out.
Yeah.
And so that's the difference between I'm making a decision or I'm second guessing myself. No, I'm doing it.
I mean, look, coaches by trade, really, and I mean this with all due respect, they're psychopaths. Mm-hmm. Like, they are lunatics about their program. Kim Mulkey is a psycho about her program. Will Wade is he's a degenerate about his program. Brian Kelly, Nick Saban. I mean, all of the greats, they are crazy about anything having control over their program. I have never I have never covered a coach or seen a coach as well connected with his team than Jay Johnson is. Mm-hmm. The feel he has for his teams, being able to push buttons, and I mean, he referenced the January 14th meeting that LSU had earlier in the year, and just talked about how they got here, and the way that he kind of presented it to the room was pretty fascinating. And hopefully there's some content on this meeting. But he said he asked this group earlier in the year, like, what do you want to do? You know, like what is define success, right? I mean, like, you're standing in the most successful program in the history of college baseball. What does this team want to do? And he was like, the room was just like silent for like 2 minutes. And he was like looking at them like, no, I'm asking you, like, talk back to me. What do you want to do? And he's like, kind of out of nowhere, Dylan Cruz is like, we want to win a national championship. And he says, do you really want to do that? Like, is this really what you want to do? Because I'm about to lay out for you what it's going to take for you to do that. And if we commit to it, we can do it. And he goes through a couple of more interactions that he has with the team. And next thing you know, he's got it defined on what success is for this particular team and how they're going to get to this spot, which is why I believe they're playing with such a loose air to them that really kind of popped earlier this week. Like, you kind of saw it happen right in front of your eyes in that Tennessee game. In that first elimination game is where they kind of found their true feel to, like, who they are, like their identity. Really, it feels like they found who they are, and they're comfortable, they're confident, and they don't care. Did you hear Johnson tell the story about how he laid out the pitching on the whiteboard last night?
Anybody got any questions?
I stood up. I'm serious. Like, I stood up in the living room and was like, whoa, let's go. I was like, let's go.
That's the fucking coach.
That is it. Like, that's the stuff. That's the sauce, man. Where he's like, look, here's Tuesday, here's Wednesday, here's Thursday, here's Saturday, here's Sunday, here's Monday. Does anybody have any questions on how we can accomplish this?
No? Good.
No? Get on the bus. I mean, like, it was like, holy shit. Like,
this man has a plan.
They're about to win this thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to, but it's like, in the moment, you got to be thinking, like, put me on the bus. Like, let's get on the bus. Let's go. And they have been playing as if that has been the mentality since that story. I mean, like, if you've not seen Jay Johnson tell that story last night, go back and watch it. I got goosebumps thinking about him telling it right now. It's so, like, he's just kind of like in the microphone, just like, anybody got any questions? No? Get on the bus. I mean, it's like business as usual for LSU, and this is what they've been doing since January 14th, which is why I believe, like, Wake Forest got beat. It came down to that. You know, I mean, the comment that relief pitcher made that is going to live forever on the internet, you know, I mean, of how are we going to get beat? It's impossible for us to get beat. Okay. Hang one to Tommy White and see what happens. Which, by the way, for Jay Johnson, sitting on the podium last night and having Thatcher Hurd, Paul Skeens, and Tommy White sit next to him, and him in his opening statement, like, he goes from, this was one of the best moments of my life.
And he truly means that.
And then, like, when he gets the mic back, he's like, I wasn't kidding. Like, this is truly, like, one of the best moments of my life.
You don't understand how much this means to me.
And then, like, in the opening statement, he goes back and says, like, oh, and if you're in the transfer portal, there's no other place you should rather be, right? Take a look who's up here. I spent a lot of time with these guys last summer. You think they're happy with their choice? I mean, like, it was like, whoa. I mean, like, the dude was like, all right, any questions?
Yeah.
I mean, like, we'll open it up to questions for the student athletes. I mean, it was.
Always be recruiting.
LSU feels so comfortable in this spot. You know, I'm not telling you they're going to win the Natty, but they are approaching the national championship series with a very loose, confident approach that is easy to follow right now. I mean, that was an incredible college baseball game last night. I mean, that will be that will be one of those moments that lives on forever. And I mean, you got to close it out, right? Because I think you don't really remember as much the Oregon State 2 wins in 2017 as you probably should, because that was a special moment in LSU baseball history. But they got beat in the national championship, right? So the season's almost kind of not forgotten, but right. I mean, it doesn't hit. No pun, but I mean, it just doesn't
It
stay.
doesn't have the same feeling.
Yeah, if you don't win at all,
I mean, if they close this thing out,
it will be remembered forever.
I mean, I think if they close this thing out, you will actually say, like, last night was the national championship.
Yeah.
The last 2 nights were the national championship. Because that felt like the best 2 teams. And I don't want to, disrespect Florida, but, I mean, that was a hell of a bracket that LSU just came out of.
Group of death.
I mean, like, that was murderer's row.
Exactly. I mean, how do you not wake up this morning if you're LSU and just go,
We just saw 2 of the best pitching staffs in the country.
yes.
4 days in a row.
And beat them with our relievers.
And, I mean, Tennessee gets lost in the fold.
Stewie, can you find the whiteboard clip?
I think I have it, but I don't know exactly which one it is. Is it like 20-second clip?
Play whatever you got. I'll find it.
I got
Really, I mean, these press conferences have been must-watch
Fire.
television. I mean, like, both sides, really.
But and you saw both dynamics of LSU, right? Whether you have
Freshman.
the goofballs like Griffin
Yeah,
Herring,
right.
Cade Beloso, Riley Cooper,
Right.
and Akada. Or that was the group. And then you have the Tommy White and Paul Steve's like, that was awesome. Like, they're not. There's no jokes. They're just like, I don't even know. They have nothing to say.
And Thatcher Hurd, too.
Thatcher Hurd's like,
Thatcher Hurd's
pretty
very
cool.
To the point. Yeah, right.
Pretty cool.
Like, that was cool.
They couldn't. The guy that was running the press conference was like, I guess that's it for the student athletes. Like, we're giving you nothing.
Right.
And then it's like, all right, let's get to Jay. And he was busting at the seams to talk.
Couldn't wait to talk.
He couldn't wait.
I mean, if that was your team, couldn't you wait to speak on
Yeah,
it?
I'm literally telling you this is the best moment of my life.
I mean,
He's so in it, man.
he is. I mean, it is amazing to see the feel, like I said, he has for his team. I mean, for his many
Ooh, get fresh.
good coaches that have, really dominant coaches that we've all seen up close. I mean, and this is the ultimate goal, I think, for coaches, is to really understand and have a feel for their squad for when you get in moments of, where it's just, it gets tight. It gets, I mean, every single pitch last night meant something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's one of those games where every single moment is huge. And if you can't live in it, if you can't compete in it, you're going to get swallowed up by it. Like, it will expose you quick, moments like last night. I mean, that was a big time college baseball game.